day. This is Richard Wexler, and this is Caring in America, the podcast for caregivers and care recipients. So, folks, the ones that have been with me for quite a while, you know my story. 20 years ago, working in the software industry, minding my own business, married later, two small kids, all four parents with us between my wife and myself. We think they're doing great. We find out in the summer of '05 they're not, as we start getting phone calls that turned into all four of them. We wind up then taking care of them for the next 14 years until the last parent passes at 96 in 2019. Started my journey 20 years ago, learning everything I could about aging, care, educating people all over the country. The podcast now 2 years old. And then in January of this year, we launched a plan to age, which I am the CEO of our nonprofit. Again, the whole premise is based around education, really trying to help people understand what it means to age, the complications thereof. So we have a special guest with us today. I'm going to introduce him via his bio. Dr. Jordan Romano is an Ivy League trained, board certified internist hospitalist. He has over 14 years of clinical experience from Massachusetts General Hospital, Harvard Medical School, and the Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical. He has been a medical expert witness for nearly a decade and is a trusted resource by law firms nationwide. He has mentored physicians at all stages of the expert witness journey. He supports physicians, guiding them on how to become successful expert witnesses. His program offers personalized one-on-one sessions tailored to each physician's unique needs for optimal growth. Dr. Romano, are you with us, sir?
I am. Thanks for having me today.
You're very welcome. Where are you physically sitting?
I'm in Boston, Massachusetts.
So, what's the weather like back there today?
Well, I think we're having the most humid stretch, perhaps on record, is what I'm hearing. It broke for a few days, which is nice, but it's coming back around the corner, so to speak.
So, is it hot and humid as well?
There you go. Absolutely.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, we're very hot where I am. We're pushing 100 the last week, probably again today, but no humidity, and I will definitely take that. So I want to start by asking you a few questions. So, what made you want to become an expert witness?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly didn't wake up one day and have that cross my mind. Like many people, it was a bit of serendipity. I happened to be now it's just over a decade. I happened to be at work one day and bumped into one of my colleagues who seemed a bit harried, and I asked what's going on, and um, he told me about, oh, he's working on a case or doesn't have time for a case, and then he realized, wait a second, I could pass this on to you. So he took me out to lunch and introduced me to the space. I think back when I started doing this more than a decade ago, that was sort of how this happened. It was not something. There weren't podcasts and situations like this where people discussed medical expert witnessing. A decade ago, LinkedIn wasn't as prominent. People weren't really talking about this space as much. And so now I think it's at people's fingertips. It's a conversation. It's something that comes up from time to time. Whereas a decade ago, it was just serendipity.
Interesting. So, what side of the coin do you work on? Who are you normally an expert witness for?
It's about 60-40 plaintiff and defense. It really just depends on who calls me and the merits of the case. Many expert witnesses or individuals, when they get involved, will realize that you're most of the time you're just called to kind of make sense of a situation, remembering that these attorneys are attorneys. They're not physicians. They're not clinicians. And a lot of times they just want to understand. They may know the punchline, what happened, the end result, but was the care that was provided, was it appropriate and timely? Was something done that shouldn't have been done? And or was there something that should have happened that didn't? And did it happen in a time frame that was appropriate? And so that's really what you're asked to come in and kind of decode for the attorneys, if you will.
Interesting. Do you find that you prefer being on one side of the coin or not?
I don't really see it that way. It's really taking every case for the merits that are before you. I don't see myself as being retained by a side. I don't have a side. I don't have a dog in the fight. And the best expert witnesses view things that way. It's really you're an advocate for medicine and for the standard of care, which is what any reasonable clinician would do in same or similar circumstances. So when you're asked to review the case, you're asked to review the case. You don't have a team you're on, you don't have a side you're on. You're just there on the side of medicine to help explain to the attorneys and maybe someday a jury, but again, that's a vast minority of the work, but you're just there to explain the medicine and what normally happens. There are unscrupulous expert witnesses out there that feel like they have a dog in the fight, and you can kind of tell. But that is not what I recommend, nor that's certainly not a way that I behave in the space.
Interesting. So, got to ask, when this started for you over 10 years ago, nervous, not nervous? How did you feel in that environment when you were a rookie in the space?
I guess I don't think about it that way. I was more curious than anything. I didn't know what I didn't know, and I thought it was interesting. My colleague handed me this first case, and I had fun. I enjoyed it, and the feedback I received from the attorneys and from others involved in the process was that you know what, you have a knack for this. You're good at this. It is hard to be. I will say to the average, to any physician that's out there, whether you do this, you've started doing expert witness work or not. It's like anything. How can you one, know you like it, and two, expect to be good at it if you've never done it before?
Right.
So when I first started, I didn't, I was a little, I was just curious. I was curious about the space. I did one case led to two, and then it just went on from there.
So, for an average case, and I understand each case is different, the factual situation is different. How much time are we talking about from a research perspective do you have to put in before your initial appearance?
Well, keep in mind the vast majority of these cases don't go to trial. On average, it's somewhere between 1 and 5%, call it 2.5% of cases may eventually go to trial. And that's 18 to 48 months after you're initially retained, right? So there's a long tail to this process. Then there's a larger percentage, call it 10 to 20%, will go to deposition, which is where you're giving your sworn testimony under oath, but over Zoom, not too dissimilar than what we're doing here, but you're under oath answering questions by the opposing counsel. So if you're retained by the plaintiff, the defense counsel is asking you questions about the records and the case and what should have or shouldn't have happened, and your opinions to get them on the record. They may ask you to write a report, and that's another part that may or may happen. Every jurisdiction, this is where it starts getting nuanced very quickly. Every jurisdiction, meaning every state, has different rules about the reports and depositions. And so I would say on average, and then moving further upstream, you're just reading some records and having a conversation with the attorney. So the average case, it's hard to say. Honestly, it really depends. But let's just say you're spending 10 hours on the average case, plus or minus, depending on how far it moves down the road.
Sure. And obviously, we're in a different time frame now than we are 20 years ago. And even when you started 10 years ago, can the trial work be done virtually? Or are you having to travel and show up in a jurisdiction in person?
That's a great point. In the over decade that I've been doing this, I've traveled maybe twice for a deposition. There's just a lot of time and cost to that. And I think the Zoom is efficient. You know, if somebody needs to cancel something, you can move around schedules a little bit easier with Zoom. In terms of trial, there are individuals who do it live, or what they do is they do it under oath and record your trial testimony ahead of time and play it for the jury.
Sure.
The attorneys involved, both sides, plaintiff and defense, that I speak to nationwide, there's great data that shows and that juries don't respond as well, regardless of which um, which expert we're talking about, plaintiff or defense. Juries respond to, we're people. We want to hear and see somebody in real time and in person. So I certainly recommend to anybody I work with, and I absolutely prefer being in person for the trials.
Sure. No, it's amazing what technology has done to our world. I'm old enough to remember way before technology, so it's pretty interesting. So let's talk about this whole idea of being an expert witness and a physician. Can being an expert witness actually make you a better physician?
It's not even that, could it? It absolutely does. I was just on service, and there was a clinical situation that came up that it reminded me of a case that I had read within the past few years. And I was able to intervene in a situation because I anticipated something that was likely to unfold, and we prevented harm to a patient because of it. So when you're spending free time from time to time reading about how situations, untoward situations, are prevented or happen in a healthcare situation, it definitely makes you stronger when you're put in that position. And without a doubt, it's one of the top reasons why I enjoy being a medical expert witness.
Sure. No, I totally understand that. And obviously, your field, not mine. A lot of physicians work for themselves, so practitioners maybe partner with somebody else. They work for large practices. Can being an expert witness actually help you to find new opportunities, to find new patients, etc.?
That's a great question. I haven't thought about it in that regards. I think that um, it's a space that a lot of people, a lot of physicians and clinicians in recent years, I would say since the pandemic, are starting to learn more about and consider participating in. And that's certainly something I encourage, because I think this is a process that's happening, whether physicians like it or not. It's not meant for everybody. I certainly don't feel like clinicians should be mandated to participate in this process, but it's a process that's happening. And I think the more ethical, well trained expert witness clinicians we can have, the better, and everybody benefits. The legal system certainly benefits the more individuals we can have participating.
Do you see more demand now than you saw it 5, 10 years ago?
I think if you look up the number of cases that are being filed, it's increased very just slightly over the last decade. Certainly the number of expert witnesses that are engaging in the space has grown. Definitely since the pandemic, the numbers have at least doubled, I would say, in the last 5 years. There are more, and I say clinicians because it's physicians, it's nurses, nurse practitioners, physician assistants, occupational therapists, anybody involved in the healthcare process. But the number of folks coming into the space and seeking out opportunities to participate and to assist has definitely increased, without a doubt.
Interesting. So, a law firm, an attorney comes to you with a given case. Should you be accepting every case? Should you be selective? Are there guidelines that you follow in determining what cases you get involved in or not?
What I tend to recommend to individuals is this is a this is a situation where you're vetting the attorney as much as you're vetting the case, and as much as they're vetting you to see if you're a good fit. Not everybody who reaches out to me, obviously, want to work with. I tend to, because I've been involved in this space for a while, I can be more selective, and I tend not to take on too many new cases myself. But when I'm educating the new folks coming in, basically what I say is vet the attorneys, make sure that look online to see if you can find any information about them. And you can be blunt and ask them how much of this work they do. There are a lot of folks out there that may take only a couple medical malpractice cases a year, and that could be problematic because this is a very nuanced space.
Sure.
When they come to you with a case, you take it on its merits. You start with an initial conversation with the attorney, and you want to learn, are you a good fit? Are you the type of clinician that was involved in this case, that is either the defendant or the plaintiff's representatives? If you're not a good fit, you want to just be open and have an open back and forth dialogue with the attorney. If you feel like the case is has merits in terms of defending the clinician or from the plaintiff's perspective, then that's something to again have an open dialogue with the attorneys on. But
It's a,
certainly, take carte blanche. Uh, Taking every case is a recipe for certainly unethical behavior, I would say.
sure, I understand that. It's interesting too. You talk about the same word keeps popping back into my head, which is technology. And 25 years ago, you talked about being able to research the attorney. Couldn't do that 25, 30 years ago. Obviously, there were expert witnesses back then, but they didn't have the benefit that I would imagine folks are having now because you can spend time on a website understanding the attorney you may start working with. Let's talk, got about 7, 8 minutes or so left. Let's talk about the mentoring side. Is that really advantageous for a physician that's starting out in the medical expert field?
Well, that's how we train, right? Like uh, we do residencies where you are an apprentice and you do that. You act as an apprentice for a number of years, and then you're able to practice on your own once you pass your boards and have your state license. So I basically just applied a similar model to what I'm doing now, and I certainly do a little bit. Some of what you said I offered, I've expanded my offerings. It's less about the education now, though that's a part of it, but it's more about matching individuals with cases. Because as you could imagine, you could sit in a classroom all you want, but until you start seeing patients, and in this case, until you start participating in the actual process of reviewing cases, you really can't apply that education that you've learned from that course or that mentorship. So I really try to help people in parallel as they're taking cases.
Sure. So are attorneys based on the factual situation of the case they're working on, looking for physicians that may have specific skills, specific specialties compared to someone that doesn't have that type of background?
I think it really depends on the case. Typically, they're trying to match apples to apples, meaning if the case involved a emergency room doctor in a rural setting who also covered an ICU, picking somebody from a large uh, metropolitan area that that is not have that doesn't work in the same exact setting. It's not that it's problematic, but it certainly may be scrutinized by opposing counsel. So to avoid that scrutiny, they like trying to match experts that have same or if not similar types of backgrounds.
Sure. Couple questions as we get close to wrapping up. So, are there pitfalls that you're going to advise someone you're working with from a mentoring standpoint to look out for? They're a new physician, they're a physician getting involved in this field. Are there certain pitfalls you're telling them, please don't step in?
Absolutely. And that starts from the first engagement with that, what we call the first phone call with the attorney. Or attorneys, from your initial review of the records to writing a report to preparing for and uh, being present in a deposition where you're under oath, or being at trial. There are pitfalls all along the way and a lot of the pitfalls, it's just that uh, more likely than not, you're inexperienced. And just like if you're taking care of a patient, there's pitfalls. Um, you really just don't know what you don't know. And so, speaking with and having a community of individuals who have been there and done it is certainly the fastest way to avoid those obvious mistakes.
Thank you. I get that, folks. Again, very interesting material, especially if you're a physician out there that's listening. So, last question to you. And after that, I want to make sure we get contact information so people know how to get in touch with you. The, from a value perspective, you're working as a mentor with a physician. What would you say is the best value you're giving them?
I would say the best value is it's twofold. It's introducing you to attorneys, to our nationwide network of attorneys, and to simultaneously be giving you feedback and tips to make sure that you're successful along the way. For others, it's operational efficiency. So we do offer in our agency things like billing and medical record support as well. The vast majority of expert witnesses are, we all are, physicians first. And so a lot of folks want to participate in this, but they don't want to have to deal with, uh, you know, as they see it, harassing attorneys to collect fees or collecting medical records or scheduling things. And so my team at medicalexpertwitness.com does a lot of that just to take the pressure off so they can focus on being a physician first. And when they choose to be a medical expert witness, that the process is seamless and efficient.
Very interesting. And very much appreciate this conversation. So, as we do get ready to wrap up, what's some contact information you want to give? Phone number, website, email. What would you like to give out?
Certainly. You can schedule a meeting with me directly by going to medicalexpertwitness.com. You can schedule directly into my calendar there. You could shoot me a text at 307-317-7192, or shoot me an email at jordan@medicalexpertwitness.com. JORDAN at medicalexpertwitness.com. I'd love to chat with you if you're thinking about joining, if you're an existing medical expert witness and just need some more assistance, or you want to expand your reach and reach more attorneys and participate in more cases. I'm happy to do that. That's what our team does day in and day out. So definitely reach out to me, jordan@medicalexpertwitness.com, or shoot me a text 307-317-7192.
Perfect. No, again, thank you, Dr. Romano. I thank you for your time. Stay cool in Boston. And until we talk again, folks, have yourself a great day.